I am no longer Axie Explained. You can call me Sherlock L. Holmes. And that's because through the power of deduction and some good old-fashioned detective work, I have figured out how the Axie Origin battle system will work and what some of the new keywords mean. So if you are here to get a heads up in your preparation for Axie Infinity Origins, then without further ado, let's get down to business. Now, there are basically 3 places where I draw my information from. First is that the new marketing head for Sky Mavis, Quinn, recently posted a few pics on Twitter, which gave us some clues. The second one is the sneak peek reveal of the new tail cards that are coming out in Axie Origin. And then lastly, comes from a little known fact that Geo and some of the other team members in Sky Mavis are inspired by the game Slay the Spire. Now, this last point is especially important because when I took a look at Slay the Spire and the new Axie Infinity Origin tail cards, you will see that many of the keywords are the same, such as burn, weak, innate, and many more. But before we get to the keywords, let's first take a look at how the battle system is going to work in Axie Infinity Origins. First off, like Slay the Spire, I'm expecting the game to become turn-based, where in each turn you draw a set amount of cards. And if you take a look at this picture by Quinn on Twitter, it seems like you get 9 cards per turn, which means 3 cards per Axie. Now, what happens is that you play the cards, and by the end of the turn, all the cards that you did not play actually get discarded. Okay, so they go to the discard pile. And once your deck runs out of cards, your discard pile becomes your new deck. Like Slay the Spire, some of the abilities will allow you to target Axies instead of just attacking the very front Axie. But I do believe that in general, unless specified, you're probably still going to hit the very first one. All I'm saying is that they're probably adding a targeting system into the game. Next up, for your energy. I think the way energy works is actually going to change quite a lot. You're going to get a set amount of energy each turn. In Slay the Spire, this is 3 energy every turn, no exceptions, unless you have abilities that give you more energy. Now, Sky Mavis might take a similar approach there, or they could adopt what happened with Hearthstone, where the first turn of the game you have 1 energy, the next turn you have 2, and then 3, and then maybe cap it off at 5 or something. The only reason why I'm saying that is because we draw 9 cards, which is quite a lot, so we might be able to expect more energy. Otherwise, it's just going to be 3 energy per turn every turn. And at the moment, that is all I can deduce about the new battling system with the information given so far. Now, let's start taking a look at the cards and what some of the new text can tell us. First up, notice that the cards don't give defense anymore. It is only an attack or heal value, or nothing even, but there's no shield given by cards anymore. The second thing to notice is that each card now has a certain tag. Now let's take a look at what those tags mean. I think attack is pretty obvious, it's gonna be attack. I think skill means that this card doesn't necessarily do damage, but it has a certain ability that it activates. But if you look here, you can see that a skill card can do damage as well. The third tag being innate. Now innate comes from the game Slay the Spire, and it means that if a card has the innate tag, that it'll always start in your opening hand of the game. A very useful and unique mechanic for deck building. Next up is retain, also something that comes from Slay the Spire. Remember when I told you that at the end of a turn all the cards you don't use get discarded? Now the exception for this is cards with the retain tag. Those stay in your hand. Now if you look at Tiny Dino for example, you're incentivized to keep it in your hand as long as possible because it will do more damage. Next tag being secret. Now secret is not in Slay the Spire, but I think they might have taken some inspiration from Hearthstone here. So with the secret ability you can target an ally and give it some kind of buff, but I think this buff is not going to be beknownst to your enemy. So you could give with Snakejaw for example this buff to your front Axie or to your middle Axie or to an Axie that's really low health, and when your opponent attacks that, the ability triggers. And the last keyword is banish. Now what I think banish means is that when this card is used, it doesn't go to your discard pile like all the other cards that later on becomes your new deck. I think what this means is that it gets removed from the game completely. And that's because if we look at some of these cards that have banish, they cost 0 energy and they have quite strong effects. So I think they're probably thinking of doing those once a game and they're out. And those are the tags that I could have seen so far. Now let's jump into the new abilities. But before we do that, I'm going to give you an awesome word from today's sponsor, ZenSport. They are this awesome platform that are hosting weekly Axie Infinity esports competitions. So if you're a serious Axie player, head on over to win some prizes. One very big upcoming tournament is now on the 5th of March, this Saturday, and it is the Battle of the Guilds. It is between massive guilds like YGG and Super Whale, who will be competing it out for $5,000 in cash. So what Zen Sports are doing is they're releasing Zen Sportia, which is their upcoming esports, metaverse and NFT collection. And owning one of these basically gives you access to these monthly tournaments in which you can win $10,000 or more. But there is so much more that you can win. For example, sports memorabilia drawings, benefits on their sports betting app and at casinos, and an annual championship series which will span the entire blockchain gaming ecosystem. There will be a leaderboard for Axie, Splinterlands, Place War and all other blockchain games that are out there. So I've added their links in the description below. Make sure to join their Discord specifically to get a whitelist for the drop on the 28th of March. But in the meantime, let's check out their sweet hype video.
Welcome to Zen Sportia. The year is 2138, and much has changed from the world we know today. Athletes are bigger, faster, and stronger than they have ever been before. The line between man and machine is paper thin, evidenced by the metaphysical arenas they compete in and the complexity of the games they play. To be a Zen Sportsian, you need to excel both on the field and in the arena. With weekly exclusive esports tournaments, exclusive daily fantasy and sports betting opportunities, and a roadmap like no other, Zen Sportia is the place to be. Minting begins on March 28th, and whitelist spots can be earned throughout the coming weeks. Good luck. You might just need it.
Thanks again Zen Sports, and guys, make sure to go check out their stuff with the links in the description, and be sure to use the information that I'm giving you in today's video on Axie Infinity Origins in the upcoming seasons in their tournaments. Without further ado, let's jump into the abilities. First up, we have Weak. Now Weak is also an ability that comes from Slay the Spire, and basically an enemy that is weakened deals 25% less damage. Now I'm sure Axie Infinity can tinker around with the numbers, but I think the concept is basically going to stay the same. Next up we have Poison. I suspect Poison will probably work somehow in the same way as it is in Axie Infinity right now. Next up we have Hex. Hex is a little bit of a speculation because Hex comes from a certain boss in Slay the Spire, if I understand correctly. But basically what it does is it can fill your hand or fill your deck with unplayable cards, so a Hex card, which has no ability and can't do anything. So when you draw cards, it's possible to draw 3 out of your 9 cards, Hex cards, that don't do anything. And the more Hex cards you have, after a while you'll only be drawing Hex cards as an example. Quite crazy. Then you have Burn. Burn is a card that is in Slay the Spire, and I think this is also an unplayable status card which will fill up your hand and you can't do anything with, except with a little difference to Hex. I think the Burn card will at the end of the turn be banished or go away, and it will do some damage to one of your Axies. So unlike Hex, which stays in your deck and discard pile continuously, Burns will be removed after you draw them. Next up we have Taunt. Yet again, I think something that is taken from Hearthstone. If an Axie has Taunt, then other Axies will be forced to attack that one. Very useful on buffy Axies like your plant, right? Next up we have Fear. Now, I don't think Fear is going to be the same as we know it in Axie Infinity right now. And that's because if you take a look at Gravel Ant, Fear can last up to 4 turns. I can't see an Axie not being able to attack for 4 turns. So I think what Fear might be is that it'll attack random targets, or maybe there's a percentage chance that it won't attack, like a 50% chance its attack won't happen. Next up, we have Damage Boost. I believe Damage Boost is the same as our Attack Up or Speed Up, but basically Attack Up, where you will get a percentage more damage that this Axie does, like 20% more damage on its next move. Vulnerable. This is another ability that comes from Slay the Spire, and an Axie that is vulnerable takes 50% more damage. Next up we have Rice with Steal again. So in the previous Axie, or in the current Axie game, Rice is stealing energy from your opponent. With the new card, it seems that it will steal health. Next up we have Jinx. To be honest, I have no idea what Jinx is going to do, but I reckon it is some kind of debuff. Also, if you take a look at the Beast cards, we have the new tag called Rage. Now, I think it's been discussed somewhere else previously, but they're looking at removing random critical strikes from Axie Infinity Origins. So, it will be replaced by a new system like Rage, where if an Axie gets 3 rage points, or if your team gets a certain amount of rage counters or points on them, the next attack will definitely be a critical strike hit. So that's what Rage is all about. More details on the system as it is released. And the last one on the list is Stealth. Yet again, something that comes from the Hearthstone world. If an Axie has Stealth, it can't be targeted by abilities. Alright everyone, please let me know in the comments below if you think I got something wrong, or if you know what Jinx is, or if you just think I messed up somewhere. But I think this will be a pretty accurate analysis of the Axie Infinity Origins battling system and the new keywords. So thanks for watching. Make sure to go check out Zen Sports, links in the description, and have an awesome day.